Hello everyone, my name is James and welcome back to Team Gavel. This is a channel where I, James Williams, an attorney at Tension Law, come and talk about a lot of video game stuff, and I also talk about being a lawyer in the space. And so, if you ever want to chat about any legal questions that generally err more towards the side of legal information rather than maybe necessarily legal advice, then I try to keep this as a fairly open space. And yeah, we keep everything less formal, more accessible that way. So don't worry about phrasing your questions the right way. If you come in, you have a question and you want to know how something works and I can answer it, then I will do what I can. So what I've been doing recently is talking about either gaming news, legal updates in the gaming industry, or just general news that I think is pretty cool. And then from there, I pivot over to gameplay. I've been playing Ocarina of Time, and this weekend offline, I made a good chunk of progress. So anyway, let's talk about some of the news and things that I have found recently. All right, let's see what we got. Trying to get a little bit more comfortable in the seat here. So I've talked about gambling a little bit in the past, and let's see, what all have we said about it? There are loot boxes and lawsuits related to those types of things before. We saw some potential movement outside of the US, but nothing really big here recently on loot boxes specifically. So some of the bigger cases, and I say bigger, more publicized types of cases that have been coming up. We have two different cases here. We have one case where some parents in Arkansas are suing a whole bunch of game publishers, or not game publishers, a mix. We got a very large group of people that they're suing. So like Microsoft, EA, Activision, Ubisoft, a lot of different organizations there. And what are they suing all of these people for? All of these organizations? They're saying that these organizations make their games too addictive, specifically for children. And so let's pull out some of the stuff that they're talking about here. Again, this is coming out of Arkansas, Eastern District. It was filed at the end of October. I didn't necessarily see a lot of appeal in talking about this because I kind of just shrugged it off. But I figured this week I'll go ahead and bring it up just because it's still out there. I'll be honest, at first glance, this is definitely one of those things where I'm like, this isn't going anywhere. But you never know. And I definitely don't know any of the stuff that happens in Arkansas. So I'm not going to be able to speak to any of the state law claims. Suit lists 14 counts of action, including strict liability and negligence for failure to warn users of games' addictive qualities, deceit and fraudulent misrepresentation, fraudulent inducement, and violation of Deceptive Trade Practice Act. So they are basically saying, hey, look, the whole purpose is to make these games addictive so that it's really hard for gamers to be able to pull away. They also say that their child plays games 12 to 14 hours a day, quote unquote, despite their efforts to limit the time. And this child is playing Fortnite, R6 Siege, Battlefield, and COD, and spends about $350 per month. So what are they asking for? Well, I mean, from some of the lawsuits, they're probably wanting disclosures to be added to these games to say, hey, look, this game may become addictive and you should use parental caution and take XYZ steps. Failure to warn and product liability usually is going to require some a really big harm. We're not talking about usually some minor, or to use a legal phrase, de minimis harm that we're testing the grounds for. Honestly, the easier cases to talk about would be those at like amusement parks, or let's see, what are some other dangerous things? Things that have high levels of electricity and voltage, and you could potentially get shocked. Usually, if somebody gets harmed and they sue and they say, hey, look, you should have warned the public that that level of harm and or being unalived is a very real threat, then what happens is they will usually get slapped with the liability associated in that case. And that's when you start seeing all those stickers that are yellow with the black little striped border and that say warning or caution, do not operate this while under the influence of blah, 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 or, shock hazard, and all of those signs that come up. Those are all the results of various litigation attempts. So basically, these parents are trying to say, hey, look, these games are worth putting up your own advisories. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how I feel about that. I mean, one, we have to talk about mental health and gaming, like very important conversation to talk about. You know, there's also parenting, being a parent of a gamer, being a parent in general. But yeah, if you have a case like this, you're not going to get anywhere unless you can establish that the game itself is addictive. And or, you know, that it's designed in a way so as to actually be addictive and to lure people in. And that's not necessarily an easy task, because you're going to have to get a lot of experts. You're going to have to spend a lot of time and money. I'm not sure the plaintiffs here, but this feels like a swinging for the fences kind of lawsuit. And like I said, I really don't expect it to get much headway. The only reason why it might is, one, if all of these various organizations let the stuff slip and they're like, it's not a big deal, this will get knocked out, somebody will dismiss it, but don't necessarily expect that to happen. And then the only other time would be if you've got a really favorable state law that you can kind of hook everything to, and, you know, favorable judge, somebody who's got a kid that's glued to their phone like the millennial or Gen Z. And, you know, back in my day, we spent our days outside, all that stuff. So otherwise, we'll keep an eye on this one just to see if it ends up getting dismissed. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of back and forth there, but it feels like such an odd thing. Here are some of the damages. So they're saying, based on all the addiction problems, the child has these specific harms: physical pain in hands, elbow, and shoulder. The parents' necessary care, so basically, you know, health care to deal with those. Parents' economic loss from the child spending the parents' money. Statutory and punitive damages, and legal fees. And so this kind of takes a lot. Oh, hey, welcome on in, Paige. We're talking about gambling. We're talking about gaming addictions. We're talking about a lawsuit from parents based in Arkansas, trying to say that because games are inherently addictive and they are made to just corrupt their specific child, that they should get taken out. Yeah. The kid's spending the parents' money. I know. There's like a lot of these things where it's like, that just sounds like you need to get better grip around your parenting skills there. Parenting's tough, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not personally a parent right now, for sure. But yeah, your kid is playing 12 to 14 hours of games per day, and that's the gaming publisher's fault. Like, if you got that much of a problem, you know, unplug the gaming systems. Change the password to the Wi-Fi. Like, yeah, I know so many parents who have kids that play games and stuff. And look, like personally, I kind of got to do what I wanted when I grew up in terms of playing video games. And I won't say this. I was gonna say I felt like I was responsible. I don't know, probably not, but definitely. I mean, I wasn't playing a lot of the games like League or WoW or other things, And I probably balanced it out okay. By the time I got in high school, maybe less so, but yeah, I didn't have any of those like timers or gaming limits or anything. And I knew a couple of my friends who did have those limits, and I was just like, oh, what a bummer. But, you know, that was their parents' decision, and they did just fine. You know, they played as long as they were allowed to. There were definitely some altercations between the parents and the children, my friends, but, you know, everybody does what they're going to do. And I know a few streamers that are also parents, and they are very, very tight on a lot of those different aspects about streaming and how much screen time they allow for their kids. Something that probably my parents wouldn't have contemplated at the time when I was growing up, but yeah. But, you know, for this case to even be viable, they are going to have to show actual damages, and they are going to have to show a causation element. So they're going to have to prove games are addictive. They're going to have to prove that there is some kind of law or, you know, what we were talking about here, some type of harm that may be associated with either a tort, like personal injury or something like that. And then they're going to have to show a cause. So, you know, not only are the games addictive, but because they're addictive, they cause the actual harm. If we can just talk about how maybe this kid has poor posture or other things, then, or just like health complications in a more neutral kind of context, you know, all of those are ways for the other side to basically push back and say, look, your kid's physical harms or injuries that you reported, they're not because of our game or the purported addiction to the game. They're just due to life. You know, that thing that is constantly churning, whether we want it to or not. Well, if they can do that with enough oomph behind it, then you could kind of push and say, hey, look, it's more likely than not that this kind of, and I'm talking about a preponderance of evidence standard, which is generally where a lot of the stuff comes in, except for like strict liability. Yeah. Most civil standards are in the preponderance of evidence or more likely than not kind of area. And so they're going to have to show that it's more likely than not that everything is tied to the gaming addiction and not other intervening causes. So like there are a lot of different ways in which this could be smacked down. And, you know, as somebody who likes games, probably has a little bit of control over some of the stuff. Anyway, my wife may beg to differ on terms of like control, but yeah, I mean, I'm also older, so there's definitely something to be said about regulating games. But you know, we've already got like the ESRB to rate games and put content recommendations. So it's kind of just like, how much other censorship or regulation does the gaming industry need? There are definitely some really rough, wild west areas in the gaming industry, and I'm just not sure that this is necessarily the way to go that moves us, that keeps the industry moving forward. But, it's interesting, and depending on what happens, if the case goes forward, we might get some very interesting case law. And so there's like so many different things, which is going to be one of the biggest problems for this case. I definitely agree with you there. I'm going to click on this. Let me see this. I'm just going to scroll through the complaint a little bit. 129-page complaint, which feels like the length of a complaint for filing a lawsuit against a billion places. Effects of video games on adolescent brains. Researchers have concluded that excessive use of video games may lead to negative effects like stress, aggressive behavior, verbal memory deficiency, depression, lowered cognitive ability, sleeping disorders, anxiety, and behavioral addiction. Okay. This feels more like a paper. Yeah, it would have been a lot cheaper if they had just filed like a Medium article or something. Okay. No, there's just so much to this. Let me scroll down. I mean, I'm just very curious. It doesn't say represented at the top, but it's gotta be. Ah, here we go. Now it's represented. There's a firm that is based in Georgia. This one? I'm like really curious about this firm now. Oh, okay. I should just type in that. I don't want to, I'm not trying to, like, get too aggressive with the comments here just because I don't know what their background is. But, like I said, first impression just comes across as like, what is this lawsuit, man? Okay. Do they have a page? Okay, so they do a lot of like class action kind of stuff, I'm guessing. little hard to find the actual website. They're just personal injury attorneys. Okay. That's very interesting. Video game addiction. This firm has a whole page dedicated to video game addiction. So basically, they filed this lawsuit, and now they have dedicated a whole page. I mean, I'll be honest, if I look at the complaint, it definitely looks like they put a lot of time in. And so, yeah. I'm guessing that what they're trying to do, which this part makes sense, it makes a lot of business sense, is like, hey, we are now specializing in this prospective tort, this personal injury type case. And so to make it profitable, we're going to hold ourselves out as the experts. And so depending on what they do, you know, if it goes well, then parents who agree with them can reach out and all that. But yeah, I mean, frankly, we're trying to work on a similar marketing idea because we had an unlawful ICE detainer case at our firm, and we ended up settling, and can't talk about the amount of the settlement, but we can talk about the different marketing tools and things that we're going to use and like what generally went on. But yeah, like now I get it, but it seems a bit early, you know? I mean, yeah, honestly, Paige, my big thing is like they just filed this lawsuit, and so to have a whole page dedicated to it feels very proactive. Like if we had our unlawful ICE detainer case and we started marketing around it, and we're like, all right, everybody, let's take down all the people. Let's take down the local police. Let's take down the counties and the states that are upholding all these unjust and unlawful ICE detainers. And then we lost, and the court said something like, yeah, these are lawful. So you're not only wrong, but also now we've got case law out there that says you're wrong, and it ruined it for everybody else. Like that would be a big bummer. And then we've got all this marketing directing back to our firm. It's a gamble, you know, marketing is a lot of gambling. That's sort of an undertone of today, but yeah, I can kind of talk about some of the other things. I'll move on. So in a kind of similar approach, Roblox is being sued again, and feels kind of like I said, a similar aspect. There are two primary concerns that the parents have filed in this case. One, it's just stemming from the fact that they see a bunch of, like, a lot of parents are seeing unauthorized charges, and then there's a lot of allegations about grooming, like sexual grooming in the world of Roblox. And so I have never really played Roblox. I've seen some clips and stuff. I've looked into it for a couple consults and things here and there. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack in that lawsuit as well. And it's going to come down to that causation element. Is it because of Roblox themselves for enabling and creating these spaces? Or is it just people are terrible and found a way to take advantage of this system? What type of liability would the game publisher have in that situation, or the game developer? And not quite sure that we're looking at something super big there, but all of these could have implications on like COPPA and child safety. And so that feels like one of the big themes of current lawsuits in the gaming industry that are getting a little bit more publicity. We still don't have a lot of answers for loot boxes and gambling in the US, but yeah. I saw another article about this game that's called Gods Unchained. It's by the company called Immutable, and I hadn't heard of it previously, but when I talk about it, I'm not really surprised. So it's a card-based game that is a play-to-earn based game, anyway. And so, like, if you win, you get some digital currency, and these are called God tokens. In this game, though, you can then convert those God tokens into Ethereum, and that gets into crypto. And so crypto is definitely one of those topics that can be very controversial. And right now, frankly, there's a lot of clapback from the gaming industry. So what ended up happening is Epic, this game was in the Epic Games Store, and Epic actually went back and said, hey, look, games that are play to earn, so like you play the game and if you win, you'll get some form of real world currency or something that could be converted to a currency. Those games, we're just going to say, hey, look, this is going to fall into this category of adults only. And in the gaming world, mature can be played by people that are 17 and up. And there are a lot of games out there that use that rating, like Call of Duty or like Grand Theft Auto, a lot of different games with more mature content, right? So why do we think that maybe they're doing this? Well, it's just all generally coming back to, why don't people like crypto? There are already enough concerns in the gaming industry about crypto and gambling. And so honestly, I feel like with this, Epic is saying, look, this feels a lot like gambling. And maybe they just don't like crypto. Maybe they feel threatened by the space. Not quite sure. But they've got a policy that says, look, if you've got a play to earn component, then we're probably going to say that this is not intended for minors. It's borderline gambling at that point, if you don't actually call it or qualify it as gambling. So, and you can also get NFT cards that can be sold externally. There's a direct pipeline in this game to like money markets. Not really too surprised that a provider would probably want to be very cautious about allowing this game to be on their their app stores or their game stores. We just talked about them getting sued by parents saying, hey, look, you're enabling gambling and loot boxes and addiction and other big buzzwords. And so, this game, Gods Unchained, being knocked off the store probably could be influenced by those types of lawsuits, right? There are just a lot of other complaints. The people who are very anti-crypto get pretty aggressive in the comments of those types of things as well. And so I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on the various publishers and developers to stray away from crypto. And so that could also just be a social kind of push. But there are a couple of gaming developers who are basically saying, hey, look, we got to be very careful if we're going to have a blockchain-based game, because this may open the can of worms for Epic and other store providers like Steam to say, like, hey, look, we've got this policy, no play to earn games, and you fit that description. So it's kind of like a variation of censorship. But, if we don't have the root cause explained for why they want to avoid it, my default assumption is, no, look, this is just really close to gambling. And so them saying we're going to prevent it from being available to minors is just a content regulation kind of tactic. All right. I mean, while we're talking about gambling, I'll just talk about some of the things I've had to look up. So, if you're streaming and you're concerned about getting flagged in any way for illegal gambling or games of chance, like lotteries, illegal lotteries, illegal raffles, and sweepstakes. I'm gonna swap this one. Okay, so yeah, if you're concerned about hosting any of these types of events, like a raffle or sweepstake, a giveaway, then just know that there are a lot of ways in which you could get yourself in trouble and end up getting some pretty hefty penalties depending on what all you're doing. So, like, if you're on Twitch, some of the most common giveaways and things that you end up seeing, they're often tied to charity streams, which kind of has its own little bit, but yeah, I'm not going to dive too much into the charitable donation aspect of this. I'm just going to talk about some of the more generalized concepts about gambling. And so, what is a lottery? A lottery is going to require three different things. It's going to require some type of consideration or like a payment. It doesn't necessarily have to be money. If something that you do to enter into a lottery expends a bunch of effort, like a really, really long survey, then that may meet the threshold. An element of chance, and so basically being randomized. And then the last piece is a prize. So, for a lottery / sweepstakes, like I said, you got to have some form of consideration or a payment component. you have to have a randomized chance, and then you have to have prize, something that is going to be offered for value. Now, if you do something where you're doing non-paid entries and you're offering something of lower value, like a t-shirt, it's probably not necessarily going to be as big of a deal. But if you're on like a game show or something else, you have to pay to get onto the show. There's consideration. Depending on how the game show is set up, maybe there's a skill component, maybe there's not. But you know, there's difference between whether skill is required for a sweepstakes or a lottery versus contest. And so it all rolls around to the same thing. At the end of the day, they get treated slightly differently, but you definitely want to make sure that if you're offering a prize that you can kind of get into as many disclosures as possible, and then also trying to kind of distance yourself from saying, hey, we're doing basically what the state lottery does, and we're going to do big prize pools. All right, so Paige, let me read what you got here. Are there any caveats regarding the buy-in being more or less than the value of the prize that would affect it being gambling? I remember working in nonprofit. That was one of the aspects we had to watch out for affecting gaming licensing. So I just want to clarify, is your hypothetical saying like, let's say the buy-in is $30 and the prize is a $30 game. So less than, no, the other way. Prize is $5, but the buy-in's $1. I mean, this is one of those things where I am going to get... I'll give you a second. But generally speaking, you know, an attorney is going to give you the stricter... It's all right, Paige. Take your time. We're going to give you the strictest interpretation, and we're going to try to keep people out of potential liability. And especially when the gaming industry, and when I say gaming, I'm not talking about gambling gaming. I'm talking about, you know, I'm going to go play some Ocarina of Time like Zelda. Not I'm going to gamble at the slots or the card tables in Vegas, you know? Very different. There are just a lot more eyes that are coming onto the gaming industry. And it's going to keep being like that the more the gaming industry grows. Yeah. So like a lot of people when they run their giveaways are in fact hosting some variation of an illegal lottery or a contest or something like that, or like a sweepstake. Usually the question then becomes, you know, how big is it? Is there a big prize pool? Is there a lot of eyes? Are there a lot of eyes that are watching it? Is it tied to a specific industry? If I'm Joe Schmo and I am gonna offer a prize that is like a $5-10 Starbucks gift card, and I say, yeah, just subscribe to my channel. I can say all of this because right now still can't offer subscriptions, so nobody can assume that I have a subscription and I'm making any actual offer. Anyway, that could be a situation where maybe the sub is cheaper than the $10 gift card, depending on which tier. But they are buying a ticket, a subscription, to be entered. And so that's consideration. Then we've got a prize, so something of value. And the last piece is it's in theory going to be randomized who's going to win. Anybody who donated or bought a sub is going to be entered into a random drawing. Well, that basically is a lottery at that point. It's not $1 million lottery, but it still is technically a lottery. And so what people usually will do to kind of sidestep these things is they offer... Oh man, there's an acronym. Oh, I really want that acronym. A free alternative form of entry. That's not the acronym, but free method of entry. It's like something like that. So if you're familiar with those platforms like Omaze, where they have big prize pools, then what they're gonna do, and I'm not their lawyer or anything like that, so I'm just gonna add that little disclaimer. But I've looked them up. I'm not gonna speak to whether or not what they're doing is legal, but I will just say that some of the stuff that they do in their terms of service is basically to offer that alternative method of entry. That's what it is, AMOE, alternative method of entry. So you'll see a bunch of buy a sub for my channel, or just comment in the chat. Like, put anything in the chat. It's free and it's accessible to anybody. Then we get to, is the free option given the same amount of weight or opportunity to win as the paid option? If the answer is yes, then you're generally going to be more compliant. If you don't have consideration and it's free to enter, then we're taking the consideration piece out potentially. So the giveaway piece, usually you want to remove that consideration component, and then you can offer a potential prize even if there's a random chance. And so those are the types of things that would come up that people get involved with. Now, a lot of the rest of this kind of situation, these types of cases all come down to adequate disclosures and disclaimers. And so this is where having a really solid set of rules, or just a TOS page, terms of service page, can really make or break the rest of your case. And so you definitely want to have a rules page, and people make commands for those that have a link to a website or a Google Doc or something like that. If you're going to have like a sponsor or something else, then you definitely want to make sure, if you have a financial disclosure you have to make, hey, this is sponsored by so-and-so, and I will get a financial contribution from it. You definitely need to make sure all those sponsorship disclosures are there. Then we also have all the different state laws. There just are a few jurisdictions that are especially tedious here in the United States. But, anywhere that you're planning on offering it, you want to make sure that you're just really cautious about it, because if you decide, hey, I'm going to offer this on Twitch globally, then you might be doing what is maybe not a sweepstakes here, but in Quebec or certain parts of Canada, they may call it a sweepstake, and then you might get in trouble there if the regulators or agency people see it. So some of the states that we know have pretty aggressive requirements: Florida, New York, and Rhode Island. And so some of those considerations for sweepstakes are, one, you might have to register your sweepstakes, go ahead and apply with the state, like their gambling arm. And then they have bonds that you might have to pay. And so what's the bond? Well, they're going to say, what's the value of the prize? Okay, well, if you're going to offer a $2,000 hoverboard as your prize, and let's say a bunch of people enter it, and you end up being a mischievous person who doesn't want to give out the hoverboard, and you're trying to lure people into a trap to either donate. And when I say donate, I don't mean as charitable contribution. I mean giving them free money or doing other things. Then the state is basically wanting to make sure that their citizens are protected from those types of people. And so the reason to have these sweepstakes registrations and bond requirements is basically say, hey, look, if we don't uphold our part of the bargain for our contest or sweepstakes or what have you, then we've already paid to the state the approximate retail value of the prize, or whatever the portion of the ARV is. And then there's a little bit of a compensation element for the people, while, you know, in theory, the regulator is going to be suing the pants off or fining the pants off the person who's violating the rules. So that's one of the reasons why you'll see a lot of giveaways and things where they'll say, you know, excluding citizens of Florida, New York, Rhode Island, Quebec, and then there's a list of countries that are on like the embargo list. There are a bunch of European countries that are also very tricky. So all of these are things that you should just be very mindful of. As we have an audience here on Twitch that could literally be all over the world. Trying to think about other things. And obviously privacy is very important. And so you also have to be very careful about how you're, you know, how much information or data you're collecting and the purpose of it. If you start soliciting people from a giveaway to be like, hey, now that you're here and you got signed up for blah, 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 why don't I pepper you down with a whole bunch of marketing? Depending on how you do it, like that could be another area that's just ripe for some form of enforcement. So yeah, it's just one of those things that definitely want to be careful about. A lot of regulation when it comes to lottery, sweepstakes, and contest. And I mean, there's definitely ways to do it. a lot of the stuff goes unchecked, like I said, if we're dealing with smaller prize pools and smaller entries. But if the prize pool gets big enough, like if you're giving out a car, then, you know, we're talking about disclosure requirements, we're talking about all those registration requirements with various jurisdictions. We're definitely talking about tax considerations. If you randomly get a car that has a retail value of like $30,000, the IRS wants to know. And if it's public, like, oh wow, look at this person who went on this show and won a car, there's a good chance that the IRS has an eye on you at that point. And if you try to hide it, then they're gonna send out an inquiry, or they're just gonna say, hey, look, we know you have this and you gotta list it as income and pay taxes on it. All right. But yeah, you know, we can talk about different ways that you can host these things. Usually when we're talking about charity streams, this is as far as I'll go. You just have to be very careful with sponsorship, and you have to be mindful that the charity, they're going to have some liability, but if you're the person who's actually hosting the giveaway, then you as the streamer can be held primarily liable. Oops. Swap this over. Okay. But yeah, if you have questions about doing giveaways on your Twitch, your YouTube, or other channels, that's definitely something that we can look into with you. And you can join our Discord and we can kind of collaborate about some of this stuff. If you're looking for a lawyer and you want somebody to look over contracts or rules or things, then you can definitely reach out. And if I'm able to help, then I will do so. I'll just say, you know, that's a solicitation. So if you're looking for legal services, then just know that you could potentially hire Tangent Law, and we can share my information in the chat. All right. That was really it. A lot of the content that came up today had some kind of gaming and gambling angle in it. And so I thought, you know what? Why don't I just talk about some of the stuff that I found out from doing a little research when I first got into looking at giveaways. And so it's a very interesting thing. But yeah, a lot of gambling lawsuits related to the gaming industry right now. Oh, one other piece. I don't remember if I had said this, but with all of the crypto games and play to earn, we've more recently, we've more recently have been getting guidance from the IRS on how they're going to categorize and treat all of these NFTs and virtual currencies. And so right now, the final say on this piece is like, look, if you sell it and you make money, then that's going to be a taxable event. It's the same thing as like stocks in general. it's not the purchasing of stocks that usually is a taxable event, but let's say you sell them and you get a big windfall, then you pay taxes on that adjusted basis and the value. And so, yeah, depending on all these different things, you know, if you get value or if you sell it or um, you start playing around and treating it like the stock market, then the IRS is going to be very careful. And they've been working on regulating this area more and more. So you got to be very careful if you're going to be doing anything with crypto, especially. All right. So some of the other little things that not really gaming news or related to gambling anymore, but yeah, it looks like I am going to be headed to MagFest, and so there's still some unfinished business for what I can talk about, so I'm not going to talk about it at this time. It'll be much closer to the date when I have like a firm update, probably maybe next Monday I'll have a better idea, but otherwise it'll probably be after the holidays. MagFest stands for Music and Gaming Fest. It's going to be in National Harbor, Maryland at the Gaylord Convention Center. And yeah, it's a great little convention. And I say little, but it's not small. They have so many different things. They have a huge show floor that is just for vendors and stuff. Yeah. They have like the artist alley, and I made a client on my way out. I was really cool. I was really happy about it, but really love working with them. Normally not quite as successful, you know, walking around offering business cards out. Kind of stopped doing that at the panels, at the conventions these days. Just like a rookie mistake. You go out and you're like, this is how I have to market. I have to go talk to everybody and I have to pass out business cards. It's not that kind of place, you know. At MagFest last year, got a lot more traction as a panelist, and then the people who had questions would stick around. Am I attending as a panelist? It's a TBD at this point. I am still trying to figure that out. I've got some friends that are applying for panels, and those panels are tentative. At one point it was approved, and at another point it got taken off, and one of the panels is now back up potentially. And so I'm very hesitant to be like, yes, I'm attending. And I definitely won't say which ones, just for that reason. But I definitely will go, and I'll meet some clients there. But I've at least got like a hotel booked. And so I'll see what happens there. But very much looking forward to just like walking around Artist Alley and chatting with everybody. And maybe making clients, but in a very passive kind of approach. They also have like 2 exhibition floor spaces just for games. And one of them, like half of the floor, is game publishers who are trying to, you know, promote their demos and stuff for their games. They've got one side that's all like console games. Geez, there were like 4 floors. Yeah, we had console games, we had Artist Alley, then we had over here the demos and like game publisher booths, and then there was another one that was like arcade style games, like pinball if you wanted to play like Street Fighter, like if you were going to an arcade, one of those boxes. What else did they have? They have like the driving games, like skee ball, all of those types of games in that aisle. And so, you know, honestly, I had such a great time just walking around all of that stuff. And if you noticed, I've only been talking about games. And so they have a bunch of people who will do video game music, covers, and other performances like Bit Brigade. If you haven't heard of Bit Brigade, I'm gonna try to not stutter my way through that one again. Bit Brigade is a band that does video game covers while somebody is like speedrunning-ish the games. And so I watched one of their performances, and they had somebody who was playing like Mega Man, DuckTales, and what are some of the other games? I just remember those two for the moment, but they like played the background music with a full band. And there's a person who's just playing through the game as they go through it. Really cool. Really cool as a concept. They had a lot of other bands that are well known in the gaming industry, and you know, these fan-made cover kind of bands. So they have the music, they have games, they have a lot of stuff, and then they just have like tabletop areas. You can like rent tabletop games and play D&D, you can play Pathfinder, you can go play Catan with a bunch of people. So it's a lot of fun. It sort of just turns into like a blur for me. Had a lot of fun going though. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's going to be January 18th through the 21st. And so, you know, if I get my panelist badge, then I'm probably going to be there like the whole time. I'm going to try to make, you know, meet some new people and all that. And then just hang out and play some games. Otherwise, you know, I might just try to come up for like a day. I definitely got to meet my client who's going to be there. And I'll see about it. But yeah, if anybody else who's watching is going to be there, then let me know. And I'd be happy to say hello. I always like to look at the Artist Alley stuff and see if there's anything that, you know, either I would want or like friends or my wife would want. And so I usually will walk the show floor just to kind of gauge what all's there. And then if I do that on Thursday when it first opens, then I can kind of ask my wife or whoever throughout the weekend, like, hey, they got this thing. Is that something you want? But yeah. No, I liked doing MagFest. The panels that we had, it was like a copyright panel. I think I just did the copyright one. We talked about end user license agreements and some of the other IP considerations. But I think Noah also talked. I did panels with my mentor, Noah Downs, and we obviously talked about music and some of the other stuff there. So he struts his feathers there. He shows off. That's definitely something that he's got a lot. I mean, he's got a lot of experience in the gaming world, but he's got a lot of articles about the DMCA apocalypse. And so we talk about all those things together. But I think I did all right there, but honestly, my second day at TwitchCon definitely felt like my best panel of the year, just in terms of feeling comfortable, not only with the content, but also just the people and really loosening up. I hope that I can bring that energy forward with any of the other panels that I do. Definitely one of the potential panels that I might be doing is a little non-traditional as kind of a panel slash event. So I will try to immerse myself and make that enjoyable for everybody as much as I can. All right. Let's see. I'm still working on my calendar for 2024 for conventions or other gaming events to attend. I'm still really bummed that I missed the panel submission for PAX. I didn't even realize it, but yeah, I saw the tickets out and then it said, oh, content submissions are closed. So now I'm not even sure if I'm headed to Boston in 2024. But I always like going to PAX East. I may try to go to PAX West instead, depending on my schedule. PAX West is usually out in Seattle, and I've been wanting to go to Seattle for a long time. I'm just kidding. I knew about Seattle because of Starbucks and wanted to go to the roastery when I was working there in law school. And then after that, I learned a lot more about the gaming industry. I learned about some of the other cool things that happen in that happen out there in Seattle, and it's definitely been a recent thing, but the last 7 years. So, but anyway, it's now on my list of places that I want to visit. So yeah, Paige, if you ever see something come up and you're like, hey, I'm going to be attending this one, then, you know, feel free to share that in the Discord, and we can see who else going where. I've got another lawyer Discord where we're trying to add like a collaboration space as well, so that we can actually make plans to like make panels, content, and that sort of stuff. But I'm also fine with using our Discord to kind of create a little network of friends. So you got a buddy you can meet up with at the convention if you want. So anyway, if you end up headed out to MagFest and you need a hand or something, then that would be something that I'd be happy to meet up. I talked to my friend and client who's going to be at MagFest for sure, and I just said, hey, look, if it just ends up being you running your booth and you need coverage, as long as I don't have something going on, I'm happy to help out. Obviously, there's like a little bit of a mixed motive. I'm not trying to be any kind of bad person. I love helping people. That's why I'm a lawyer. But it's also like, we want to keep you in business because, you know, if you stay in business, then there's potentially more work for me down the road. So, yeah. Man, I see your comment, Paige. I wish I was cool enough to know about cons and stuff. I never went to conventions, and I don't say this as like a point of pride or anything like that. I just thought that conventions were expensive and not accessible for me, and not necessarily like a physical disability perspective, but I just didn't grow up with very wealthy family, and one of the first times I looked up trying to get tickets to a convention, I just thought like, Nope. Also, I mean, I was in Tennessee. There are definitely conventions that were in Nashville, but yeah, I would see conventions in other states, and like Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, all of those things. And I was like, well, I definitely can't afford a plane ticket, or I can't do these things. So how am I going to get to go there? Or, you know, the ticket costs like $150. And I was like, well, that's just to get in. I've only been able to do it now because I'm in a bit of a more privileged situation. I go to where I've gone to like GalaxyCon in Richmond because it's here, it's local. And then it was also one of the cheaper conventions. And then some of the other conventions that I've gone to now, it's all just work related. I got some recommendations from Noah, and then I've tried to look at some other options myself with a little bit of a mixed outcome. But yeah, if I get the firm's backing, then the financial piece of it becomes less of a problem. So that's just a privilege, you know, being able to expense some of this stuff as business expenses. But yeah, there's so many places I still want to check out. I think I still want to go to New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con, some of the bigger ones, just to check it out. I go at least one time. But PAX West is definitely on my list as well. And then I've been more and more interested in staying up to date with TwitchCon and following through there. It was just, this year just felt very productive. I mean, I felt like I made a lot more connections. And I don't really know what I did differently this year than years before. Maybe I just sounded and acted more confidently or whatever. Had more panels and things that gave me that exposure and people started to recognize me. But anyway, I'm always down to at least look into some conventions or events. If I can appear via Zoom or other things, you know, obviously that makes it more accessible. All right, I think I'm gonna switch over. I made a lot of progress. Ooh. I'm going to switch categories real quick and then get back into some of your questionnaire page. I got to pull up my walkthrough and update it really quickly. All right, so Twitch does their con. Do other platforms like YouTube do cons? It seems like it would have same type of demographic that requires legal advice and representation. So, sort of. There's definitely been a bigger push for brands to host their own events. And so, there we go. What do I mean by that? Before, like we have GDC, the Game Developer Conference, and then we have, oh gosh, I am blanking so hard. There are a couple conventions where they were more generalized gaming conventions where the publishers would come in and they would promote their games. Oh man, it's gonna bother me. Not Emerald City Comic Con. E3. Yeah. That took way too long. Okay, there we go. So E3, Entertainment Expo. Yeah, that used to be one of those bigger conventions where a lot of game publishers would show up. And so what people are seeing now is instead of going to an expo where people get like one little space on the show floor, game publishers have started to do their own events. And this isn't like platforms, but publishers have been doing their own things. And so now we're seeing like Nintendo's doing their directs. Hey, we're going to talk about our new game releases and we're going to do it online on our own time. And you can tune in. And so brands have slowly been pulling out of doing those big expo type events because they aren't always hitting it big and rich. And so they got to be able to recoup some of that overhead with setting up those booths and, you know, just getting to the city. Like it's expensive for an individual to get there. It's also going to be really expensive for a vendor. You're going to have to pay for the table space. You're going to have to pay for all the displays and things, all that stuff. And if you don't make enough money to cover those expenses, all of the shipping cost, then, you know, it's not really worthwhile. And as there's been a lot more, as there's been a greater push for people to host online and do their own Twitch or like VODs or live streams, then some of that stuff has been changing and it's impacting, you know, which of these conventions or expos are still viable. And then it's also impacting, you know, the attendance. So TwitchCon is probably the only one that is open to, it's probably the only one that's going to be open both to viewers and partners and affiliates and things. They have like VidCon or other creator expos and conventions, but they're not specifically tied to a specific service or platform. And then there are a lot of event meetups and things for, you know, like partnered streamers or affiliate level creators. So it's more like, hey, we're hosting an event, you know, come check out our event and we'll cover certain expenses. That's kind of where things have been heading, but really interesting to see kind of where things go. Because I mean, TwitchCon and some of these other conventions are still getting pretty decent turnouts. Everything's kind of hitting a reverb, you know, bouncing back post-COVID. So it's been really interesting to see what happens there. All right, so I'll just update everybody on my stream here, what I've done this past weekend. I have cleared some dungeons. I even cleared a dragon as a part of one of the dungeons. So what did I do? Well, I think last week, I had cleared maybe the forest temple. And so, yeah, I cleared 3 dungeons this weekend. I cleared the Shadow Temple, which is a purple one. I cleared the Fire Temple and the Water Temple. I really wanted to make sure that I cleared the Water Temple because it's just one of those things that bothers me. Not a fan of the Water Temple. No, I don't like having to adjust the water back and forth, having to swim. Nope, just not a game mechanic style that I like. So I did it with a walkthrough, and I just tried to speed right through it, and I made it. And then I struggled when I went through the Shadow Temple and got to the boss. Ended up having to leave the temple so that I could come back with an extra fairy. Of course, by the time that I did that, I had full health. I had fairies to go in case I got taken out again, and then I didn't even get hit at all. I was so angry. I was so frustrated with the boss. Bongo Bongo. It had such a silly name too. That's usually one of those signs where you're like, oh, this is, haha, it's got a funny name. And then it's like the thing of nightmares. But yeah, we were working towards the Spirit Temple, which is the last little medallion in our little hexagon. All right, so I'm heading to the desert, Caprudo Valley, and that's where I am right now. All right, I'm gonna switch over to the game audio. Oops. There we go. I love some of the items. The hover boots, they're a little unwieldy, but I think overall they're fun. I just love this hammer. This is Tinkaton. If you play Pokemon at all, Tinkaton's hammer. It's a little small for sure. I thought that the Fire Temple's boss, Volvagia, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly at all, but really cool. Big fan. I'm gonna save my arrows, use my hook shot. I was able to upgrade my wallet as well. Oh yeah, and I got Epona. Just the little things in life. Alright, so we're gonna save our horse friend here. I know that if I talk to them, they're gonna kick me out. That's where that is. Okay. We get thrown in a little box. Don't look too hard. That's right. Turn around. There we go. Alright, so I don't have a key, but I do see this one here. Alright, here we go. Gotta help the carpenters out. I feel like I got hit, but didn't take any damage. Ooh, okay. So it's not about taking damage. It's about being incapacitated. So we'll try that again. Just drop down into the door. Got it. I felt a lot more skillful than normal in this channel. Why'd you run in there? Just talk to the guy. Ichiro. We were really interested in joining their all-female group. I'm sure you were. Man. We thought that these women were... No, that's not how they would say it. We thought these girls looked so pretty. We wanted to, you know, maybe take them out for a drink or something. But then they were so rude and they're like, why are you talking to me like that? Expecting standards. That doesn't sound like one of those toxic males on the internet. Not at all. They're just mean, setting realistic boundaries. I don't know, maybe they don't, but... Oops. Alright. Yeah, you men. Oops. I don't remember the path here. I vaguely recall some of this stuff. And so I'm just trying to remember. Whoop. It is like very clear that these women have been doing okay, you know? And then some little kid comes in, starts causing problems. And noticeably also am a man, you know? Causing problems. Ganondorf causing problems, also a man. Just men. I don't know what they do for fun here, but oh well. Yep, we do have my wife entering the chat. I saw that she was here lurking earlier. I can hear some breathing. I don't know how loud it is on stream, but it's something. Oops. This really isn't too bad. As long as I actually keep my shield up, I'm mostly fine. Usually I don't, and I just keep spamming the button. Gotten a lot better about this. All right. So we're halfway through here. Oh, I was supposed to send out an email today. Whoops. I definitely need to do that. Alright. I'll deal with that in a moment. Just gonna make a note to myself. We have a lawyer group event. And I was supposed to send a reminder email. Alright, where are we? Oh, I see that up there. How's my range? Yeah, right now I've got a reminder to figure out if I'm going to appeal this case for one of my immigration clients. And that's for tomorrow. And then I've also got a case right after the new year where we're going to be going back to court. Okay, there's this one. And we've done part of the case, but we've got a lot more to do. I don't know, there's a very easy chance that, barring the judge being like, come on, DHS, there's a very real chance that we have like 2 to maybe 3 more hearings on it. I don't know how much the judge is going to want to hear all of it, but we might get that pushed through. And I don't necessarily mean get the case approved, but like, ugh. I just know that that particular government attorney is a guy who won't take any pause. Very much has to make sure that this immigrant has dotted every single I in their life. And how dare they, if they even thought about doing something potentially criminal. Like, oh, you thought about taking candy from a candy store as a child? Well, you'll remember that when you end up in immigration court 20 years down the road. It's just really silly. All right. Ah, got me. Started with the double strike there. All right. The good news is none of my prior progress gets lost. You just have to deal with the shame. Oops. Shame of having to repeat or go back through some of these areas. All right. There's that visual confirmation that I don't have to go back and do all this in 1 to 2 tries. Or all together in one event. Oop, that is not a thing. I'm just gonna run for it. Woohoo! Okay, good. Alright, it's back over here. What I missed. There we go. Just gonna see if I could get that. Nope. Didn't hit. Okay. Get in the corner. I glitch you into the corner? Ah, bummer. This is not a clean run, but it worked. Okay. I definitely want to get some more games after Zelda here that I can play with everybody else. I mean, I know Paige, you've got your work schedule, and so when you hop in, it's not like the time zone is quite as convenient, but some of our other friends of the channel definitely want to get more active. My wife and I have talked about picking up the Pokemon MOBA again, Pokemon Unite, and so that might be something, but I definitely want to get some more game nights where it's a little bit more collaborative. And it's not, like I said, it's not really supposed to be judgmental or anything. It's just my little wish list. trying to find more ways to make this more of a community and less of like just me complaining about judges or, you know, finding random things and being like, oh man, these lawyers, what are they doing over here? Ooh, okay. Oh boy, that's not right. That would have given me away. Thank you. That was a whole little struggle bus that I've had in this game. We're just not going to talk about it. Alright, so I climb up here. Is my hook shot long enough? No, it's pretty long. Oh, this is one of those things where I can just... There we go. I can at least get this. Fortnite's always been interesting to me. I mean, one, because in the back of my head, especially throwing it back to when I was in, like, frankly, high school and wanted to be a gamer and be, like, competitive and all that. First-person shooter games were definitely something that were really interesting to me at the time. Is this it? Not sure. It's probably the same room I went in earlier. Oops. Ah, there it is. Yeah, having all the different game components that they've been adding, really cool. And I mean, they've also been getting their share of controversy as well. Ooh, is this the same room? Let's see if this works. That worked. But where am I? That's too tall. Let's see if I can grab a box. Nope. Not from there, anyway. Oh, what am I doing? Hook shot. There we go. Look at that. Solving puzzles, one piece at a time. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people do some really cool things in Minecraft too. All the little, like, parkour speedruns. Look at that. There we go. Nice. All right, I think it was in here. There we go. All right, this is our last one. Ah, bummer. I really didn't want to. All I could think about was I have no idea how to get back there in a smooth and efficient way. And then, sure enough, gotta redo it again. That's all right. All right. I'm just gonna go the exact same way that I went last time because I know it worked, although it's a little slow. Sometimes that's how the practice law is. It's like, we don't really have a super efficient way of going about this, but hey, this option does in fact work. There we go. I think this was it. I can keep her on the defensive, then there's a lower chance of her doing that and doing the little multi-strike thing that always seems to take me out. Got it. Yes. The Colossus on the far side of the wasteland. So we do have the Eye of Truth. Looking forward to that. I think we get the mirror shield here. I got caught a few times, if you don't recall. But I will take a compliment occasionally. Naburu. The second in command to the great Ganondorf. Got a permission membership card, I mean. So now I don't have to worry about ending back up in the slammer. Cool, and I already got the stuff here. We're just gonna head towards the desert. Ooh, still stunned. I like the little stars thing. It's like, yeah, definitely just taking a nap. That's what bows and arrows do. So, I don't know, maybe I do want to try this. We'll see if I can do it. It says you need like 7 items. You can overcome the trials in the chambers ahead. Then and only then will you be qualified to hold our secret treasure. Defeat all the enemies in a limited amount of time. Okay. Oops, that's not good. Did a lot of damage there. Gather the jewels. this isn't going too well. Yeah, at least if I get taken out, I can use my special powers. Oh, that's not even a thing. Goodness. Oops. Alright, so... Oh, come on. No, I'm not doing this one. I messed up. Oh, it's the hover shoes I could have worn there. I'd have to try that again. Okay. Now that I know... I could probably do this a little bit faster. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Alright, let's put on my hover shoes so that I can try to get back. How did I ran straight through it. I think this one is bugging me out. There we go. Anything else? Nope. All right. Oops. All right, well, we're taking good use of that fairy right there. So even wearing that. I don't know where this last one is. Oh, did I miss that one? I may have missed that one. Yep, just messed that up. Okay. Still want to try this again. No, it did not work. Like, we're all seeing that, right? How silly is it? Just gonna hope that it works. And then I guess I can use this. I don't know why I didn't just do that. That's another thing I could have done to save myself some time. No. Okay. There's definitely something over on the left side that I'm missing. There we go. Oh, there it is. Got it. Knew it had to be somewhere over here. Without the necessary items, one will be confounded by the impossible. Oh. No, that's not what we're looking at. Come on. So no time trial here. I don't actually know what this weapon is that I'm supposed to use. I really would love the Z targeting to work. Come on. Come on, quit running in circles. Quit. Yeah, I don't... It's perfectly fine to do that with just normal combat. One with silver hands shall move a giant block. Well, I definitely don't have that item. I know that that is something that I get. Oops. Yeah, I definitely can't move this. Well, that's a bummer. Can I go all the way there? No. It's fine. I gotta backtrack all the way out just because I can't do this one. Oh, okay. Well, I got a key. That's not going to be enough, so I have to go on the other side. I do see that. give me a key. Nope, just a rupee. Here's another one, though. Bundle of arrows. Oh, goodness. Come on, target. That part worked. Got him. Other way around. Give me keys. There we go. Oh, I actually do want these hearts. Goodness. What? There's a gap right there. This is not gonna work, is it? Of course, just a tease. There's probably another way, but... Okay. Now I feel... What? I feel really silly doing that. Is it a time trial? It's not a time trial. I'm glad I'm trying this though, because I'm kind of having a good time. May not sound like it, but I am. Heard that block. Oh, okay, so that's what that one did. Do we have any other ones? No? Okay. Makes me want to go in here first, though. Find a secret passage in the room. Did I luck out? so I found a couple different things, but I want to get this. Alright, there we go. Definitely wanted this key. Does that count? Okay. So then, the only other thing that I wanted was it just clearing the enemies? Or did I find the secret passage? I don't know if that... little secret switch qualifies. Cool. This one looks... I think I've got to do this in a little bit more skillful aiming, but I'm having a hard time with the sensitivity here. Goodness, I am terrible. How did that one go? Ah. Oh, I am not happy with this. Okay. Yeah, this is too much. Okay. What even? You see that? It's shooting all the way out to the left. Nope. I'm just really awful. Alright, so I can... No, it has to be while it's a movement. I've just blown through. All of my arrows. Okay. Well, until I get some more arrows, I can't come back and do this. Let's just get a couple more keys into that room. Go back to the other area. Oh, there's a key right there. lets us out up there. You get the key. Collect the underwater gems. Alright. So, hear that piece for sure. Also know that I'm gonna have to do this. Goodness. Oh, there's a current in the room as well. Okay. Alright, we need our hook shot. That didn't work. Oh, wait. There we go. Get some arrows. Let's go ahead. I don't know quite how I missed that one. It's just a bad angle or something. I'm really getting annoyed at this particular one. There we go. This is very painful. Hate the water places so much. Ooh, here we go. Got it. Okay, I think we're done down here. Not too bad, not too bad. And by that I mean, I at least didn't get taken out. Alright, we got 3 keys in here. How many arrows do I have now? should give this one more shot. This is my natural talent here. So skilled. This is so painful. Yeah, at least I got that one. Hey. Nope. Just not feeling this one. Let's see what we can do with what we've already got. I'm not even trying to hit the other buttons, it's just because everything's on the Joy-Con, it makes it harder to only hit the one button. One of the things that I liked about having the little C-pad. We'll see if something pops up here. Then I'm probably going to be wrapping it up for today. You know, I haven't even looked at the walkthrough. Oh, that's where that one went. Cool. Free key. I can go back and try that other thing again. I don't get what I'm doing. Oh well. That's pretty obvious. Shouldn't have hit that one. Okay. Got an extra rupee. So maybe if I... Nah, I don't know. I don't know. I think I just have to go back now and try that area again. And I'm just gonna have to get better at using the bow and arrow. Usually that's a sign that there's something. Where I just have to play a song or whatever. Alright, so on the one side, yeah, I really just can't move forward in the game. I don't remember what's over on this side of the room. Just gotta double check it. Oh, that's where I just went. Alright, so I'm just gonna get myself back over here. And then I'm probably just gonna have to tackle this one off screen. And look up the walkthrough a little bit more. It feels like a very get good kind of challenge here. But yeah, okay. I thought maybe they'd have a little walkthrough part for this. We're just gonna go ahead and save, call it a day, and say thank you so much for everybody being here. And that sound is gonna bother me. I hate it. Okay. Like, bro, I know my health is low. Please just don't even bother me. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. If you want to stay in touch, then again, my name is James. And I'm a lawyer full-time, gamer part-time here, hosting some office hours where I talk about games and stuff. And if you have a topic or something you'd like me to look into, then I'm happy to do that. And yeah, if you want to stay in touch, then, well, you can do that by following this channel. You can, if you're my wife, you can text me and call me and ask me why I'm not home. And, you know, that's a very valid question when I said I wasn't going to stay out too late. But yeah, anyways, if you want to talk about any potential representation, then you've got my email, james@tingen.law. That's JAMES@TINGEN.LAW. And otherwise, you know, just follow the channel. If you aren't already part of our Discord group and you want to join, then I can drop the link in chat as well. And you can join our community. And, you know, we're looking for ways to make this space a bit more open and, you know, accessible in general. I want to make it a space where people can, one, ask me legal questions, and we can talk about legal information, but also just a way for creators to connect to one another. And, you know, if we go to conventions and things and meet up, then that'd be pretty cool too. So I'm going to go ahead and call it there. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, have a good one.